Hey, what is up, my guys? So today we're going to be going over my new adventure of selling Pokemon for Riftbound. Let me just preface this by saying this is not a video where I'm trying to sell you on Riftbound. I do think it's the best for obvious reasons that I do in all my other videos, but I just want this to say this is not about selling you on that. It's why I'm bearish on Pokemon, and I think you should be putting your money elsewhere. So it's also not to say Pokemon's going anywhere. It's still the king, and we'll go over that in the later slides, but kind of where I'm at on this. And I think it's important to kind of set the scene. So let's take it back to 2020. Everyone's stuck at home for COVID. Everyone is saving money from COVID. On top of that, getting stimulus checks from COVID. People are investing. It was one of the best times to invest in the stocks. It was at all-time low, and we saw uh, traders entering the market at record highs when it came to public versus private entities entering. Um, so people were trying to look at places to put their money. 2020 might be referred to as the Logan Paul era. This is when you saw top streamers like him and others ripping booster boxes, and they weren't that bad back then, at least in comparison to today with these vintage booster boxes. And a lot of people thought, well, if those booster boxes are expensive, what about the ones now? If I buy these at $100, 120, they're gonna be as expensive as those. And that's right what everyone did. We had all the releases for 2020, 21, Darkness Ablaze, Champion's Path, and Vivid Voltage right after. People hyped up Vivid Voltage as this amazing, greatest of all time set, and everyone loved the Chonkachu at the time. And it kind of like rose tinted glasses, but now everyone can kind of see that it was actually not that great. People were buying these. People were going out scalping. They were now botting wasn't so much of an issue back then, but people were just hoarding lots of products. I'm not to say that I'm not someone who does that. I buy cases of products, but we saw this to such an extent where Pokemon cranked up the printers to get more product on the shelves. All right, people are also ripping this product. They're seeing these PSA 10 card prices from vintage and middle era going up. Oh, well, the modern card should be doing that too. People were submitting to PSA at all time records in 2021. And shocker, March 30th in 2021, PSA closed. Some of these things are going to sound really familiar of what's going on today. So that's why I think we're having a repeat of the cycle. It doesn't have to be the exact same order, but we'll go on. Target also pulled its products in May of 2021 because people were having fights in the parking lot. They were having gun violence because of it, and they were just having issues with Pokemon. So they pulled it. It came back at a certain point, but it was gone for quite some time. He had sets like Chilling Rain, Evolving Skies. And this one might be an exception to what we're talking about today. And then we had celebrations. People were buying celebrations so high because, oh, wow, look at everything else. Evolving Skies to the moon, all of these other sets to the moon. How can anything go wrong? Celebrations hit as one of the most printed sets ever at that time. People lost so much money on that because they were buying absurdly high. But that was okay back then because that's all they knew. Pokemon saw the writing on the wall back here and started cranking up the printers, and shocker, look where it came. You had things like Fusion Strike, December. So it took from March to December for PSA to reopen regular grading. Values did not open up till June 2022. It took a year and 4 months until we got back there, boys. It was such a long time. Let's go back. Regular reopens, and then we start seeing issues. The sealed market, it was getting quaky. People, this wasn't just with modern, but vintage soared up so quick from everyone ripping that. Oh, it's starting to get a little wobbly up here. 2 years later, and that started going down. And then we had the market top, which happened in Q1 of 2022, and it just was brutal for a while. Brilliant styles, Brilliant Stars. It honestly had a small print run when it came out, but for those who were there, they held back Wave 2 and Wave 3 at the same time, dropped it with a massive reprint on Fusion Strikes, and nuked the market again. Man, we were getting hit with so much product all at once. The market could not absorb it. Then we had sets like Pokemon Go, Lost Origins, Silver Tempest, and then Crown Zenith. I mean, people were shitting on these sets back then. They were great. Silver Tempest Lugia, great. People were hyped about and everything, and then we had the Giratina from Lost Origins, but man, the sentiment back then was very negative towards Pokemon. And then on top of it, in 2023, massive reprint of Lost Origins and Silver Tempest. Crown Zenith, man, booster bundle reprints. We had the Sea and Sky boxes. It was brutal. It was a tough time. And the lowest point when we hit was about mid 2023. So that was post SV1, around SV2 and SV3 time. It took a year from the market top to get to the market bottom. It took all of these sets just constantly not performing well, constantly doing reprints of the other sets. I mean, Vivid Voltage and Battle Styles sat on Pokemon Center's website at MSRP, which is 140 something back then, until 2024. It took 3 years post release for those to finally sell out MSRP. They printed so much. Is that going to happen again? No, I don't think so. I really don't. Pokemon's really stopped putting product on their website. They've pushed way more towards big box and everything. But these are things I think it's important for someone who isn't in Pokemon maybe this entire time, all the way back to 2020, just to have an understanding of where we were. You can see here all the SV sets going in there, even up to we have Phantasmal Flames, Ascended Heroes, Perfect Order, and then all the way to Pitch Black. So here we are today. What's going on in this cycle? Couple things. We've seen the fighting and scalping in the current market. Target has beefed up how much product they have. I'm actually starting to see product on the shelves for once. We have so much coming to market. We are now getting reprints of year-old sets that we didn't think we were going to see, but desperately did need back then for Destined Rivals. PSA stopped, and we don't even know when that's going to be reopening at this point. We're seeing the anniversary set, the 30th, coming up. I think people are going to get their face melted on this one. I think they're going to lose it when they see how much product is coming. And then I have to go, what were people actually focused on back in the last cycle? Evolving Skies was great. Fusion Skies was great. What are people focused on right now? Delta Rain? Are you going to compare Delta Rain to Evolving Skies because it has a Rayquaza? I don't think it's good. I don't think it's that good. The card is fine, but the strength of the set isn't. You don't have, Rayquaza was the number one card in Evolving Skies for a little bit, then Moonbreon shot past it. But you have so many other evolutions. You have the Mega Ray, you have the Dragonite, you have so much. You have the regular Vs of the EVs. It's such a strong thing to compare to Delta Rain. And these are all small sets, and we're just getting blasted with reprints. So I kind of just want to set the scene with this, where we're having a lot of the things come back. That being said, I think there's some things that are a little worse this time. I think the slab market for Modern is going to be brutal if those gambling roulette websites finally start to feel the pain, because they're sitting on mountains of those slabs and they can't just hold it forever. They probably made enough money to cover it, but what are they going to do afterwards? Those cards will hit the market somehow, some way. Those cards will come back. They're not just going to sit locked behind some wheel on a website or behind crypto. They're going to come to the market, and we're going to see a flood. Rip and ship is slowing down. People aren't buying these products. It was just all the time, everything going on Rip and Ship. We're seeing some close. We're seeing them just slow down, reduce their days. You're still seeing some of them go if they can find Ascended Heroes and Prismatic, but convincing people to buy those prices is getting harder when all they see is it going down. The chases aren't going up anymore. So it's getting very brutal in the market, and there's a lot of product, and it's not being absorbed. So what happened? Things. Seal dropped 62%. The slabs dropped 80% on a lot of modern cards. 2023, from 2022, 2023, and then it pulled back in 2024. Pokemon ripped those printers and printed the shit out of them. So that was 2 years after the start of a lot of these sets were coming out. So that was 2 years after the anniversary. Could we be seeing this 2 years after the current anniversary, up through 2028? We can see printers ripping. They're setting up a new facility. And when is PSA's backlog going to end? It's at 11.85 million. They said they're going to reopen at 5 million. them, and they already set up a new place for grading. So right now they currently have 5. Most people don't know that. California, New Jersey, those 2 most people know. Um, Boca Raton, Florida, and we just did another one in Plano, Texas. There's a lot, and they're hiring a lot of people, and they're still having issues doing this. I also blame a lot of that on PSA and eBay doing, like, you can buy the cards back from them based on the card ladder price that they also own. It's just a whole convoluted thing, and I do blame PSA a lot for that. And that's a whole different topic about grading with them and why choosing them. But there's so many people sitting on a bunch of cards, myself included. I have a stack of cards I want to grade. I'm not paying $80 for them. I'm waiting for it to open back up. So when all this opens back up, it's going to get flooded again. But this time they're going to be ready to chew through all these cards. And now you're going to have all these PSA cards flooding the market for the next year. So it's just going to be a big issue of a lot of slabs coming out. So what happened when it fell? Modern, like I said, modern chase cards plummeted. Modern sealed plummeted. Vintage sealed. They skyrocketed up with all these celebrities ripping them, plummeted again. And guess what? Base set booster box went down to 180K. It's not there anymore, guys. It's fine. I'm just saying for the time period, it went down a lot. Things actually did well. High grade vintage singles, they actually held relatively strong during the downfall in 2021, 2022. It wasn't that bad, honestly. Now some of those lower ones, like yeah, like I wrote down the PSA 6s and 8s, yeah, those tanked. Yeah, they didn't hold up. They were high overvalued. The 10s, they're just so rare. Pop reports are low. There's a reason why they are expensive. The 6s and 8s and all that jazz, it wasn't necessary, and those were overinflated. That being said, there's exceptions. Evolving Skies. It was, relatively dirt cheap, 150 a box through that era. Man, people ripping that because it had the only good chase card. I say only. We also had the VMAX Gengar from Fusion Strike, and we had the Giratina from Lost Origins. So we had other chase cards and other sets. And guess what? Those are your 2s and 3s when it comes to Sword and Shield. But European, there's an exception. Good sets will survive. Good sets you should hold. When I think of SV era, what am I thinking of? Destined Rival is who I'm going to, at least for mainline. If we're talking specialty, SV blew the water out when it came to specialties. We had 151, Paldean Fates, Prismatic. People can talk about Black and White as well. So it had great specialty sets, but it did take 2 years to see where it is. It took it coming out in 2021 and 2023. It got to $400, and in 2024, 2025 is when it finally hit like the $2,000 mark. Yeah, it was like 150 and it was 423 and then got up to 2,500 summer of last year. So there's exceptions and they do well. And I think if you're going to stay in Pokemon, focus on the big ones. Don't hold ones that are going to stay flat. So I pulled up a couple. Here's a couple of the sets I bought at $90 because no one wanted them during 2023 and 2024. I got Paldea Evolved, Obsidian Flame, Twilight Masquerade, and Temporal Forces. These are all things I currently hold, either in cases or good quantities of loose booster boxes. These have run more than Sword and Shield did back then. These probably are not going to be reprinted. Paldean and Obsidian are out of rotation, and Twilight and Temporal are going to be going out of rotation in 2027. I don't think these are going to be reprinted. I'm not naive. These aren't high enough for Pokemon to come down. But let me tell you, the buyers disappeared. And some still comes to market quite often. Like I would be someone who'd be selling these. There's no huge chase cards in this, so this is probably what I'm looking at to sell. These are the type of products I kind of want to move out of. So the most reprinted era is Sword and Shield. Do you guys not think SV and Mega are starting to feel the exact same burn? SV, these later sets are getting demolished. Surging Sparks, man, saw reprint wave after reprint wave after reprint wave hitting vending machines and everything. And Journey Together, not so much. Prismatic, man, that set has gotten beaten down so much. When it first dropped, they had to put out a public statement about it for that they will be printing it a ton. Destined Rivals, I mean, it just dropped 50% at this point. It dropped from mid 600s to now 325. I saw online the other day. So it's possible that, I mean, it's just going to lie flat for a bit. It's going to lie flat for a while for people to chew through it. I don't think the chase cards are worth enough for people to want to rip it. It's just not worth it. It's still a great set. It's still the best set. But once again, if you're comparing DR to Evolving Skies, I still think it's a loss. I think SV is better than Sword and Shield, but I think when it comes to the number one set, I still can't compare them. So where are we? PSA closed, backlog still nowhere near. We chunked it down over like however many months, like just sub 2 million. Anniversary sets coming out. Rip driven sets. I put Delta Rain here. It's coming out after the anniversary. Let's be real. People are going to rip the living crap out of it. And you think they're going to short print it? They've shown that the other Mega Evolution sets this year, they are doing one wave and then a second wave for them. It took a little bit for Perfect Doors to hit the market, but it's going to come, and it's just going to keep that price down. It would take a mountain to move this type of product. I'm gonna be completely honest. I think people might have bought in too early on it. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be MSRP, but it's going to be substantially lower than something like Phantasmal Flames was when it released, and it just kept running. That being said, something like Phantasmal Flames, I don't know if I'm gonna be holding that. Let's be real. They're coming at this like the Reaper meme where it's knocking on the door set after set. We just got Destined Rival. I wouldn't be shocked if we get MEO1. I wouldn't be shocked if we get Phantasmal. Would I rather own a case of Origins? I can sell off my case right now of Phantasmal Flames and go into Origins. That sounds like a really good deal because I've seen Origins get reprinted. It rebounds very quick within a week. I'm not as afraid of it. I've seen Pokemon reprints. They take years. So, my 3 reasons. I think we're in a bearish market. Unless it's a rippable set, I might keep those. And when these things are going to move, it's going to take ages. And it's just going to, I think the formation is going right now where we're going to see a 50 to 80% downturn in a couple of different sectors. I think modern slabs are way overpriced. Some of them, maybe you can make a comment about Sumbreon because the pull rate's so high and the gem rate is so low for a 10. But even then, the pop's growing. I think we're almost at 7,000. Moonbreon, 20K. Maybe that's justified at now that it's how many years old? 5 years old. But look at things like Charizard 151, Charizard Phantasmal Flames. People were buying that when it was $2,000. Guys, that is ridiculous. It is one of the highest modern pops ever. It's such an quote unquote easy card to pull, and it's also a very easy card to grade. I think people are just getting a little hyped up on finally we got a decent chase card. I will say it is the best Charizard we've ever had. People can argue me on that one. So like I said, things I'm looking to sell, my SV, my ME. I'm thinking of selling my Sword and Shield. I just don't think there is going to be another leg up where I go, this can double, or I can put it into something like Riftbound that's going to double. So then I have to start going, where am I going to be looking elsewhere? But could I be wrong? Sure, I could be. A lot of these SV sets I'm going to be selling are about to drop out when it comes to the print run in 2027. It normally is the April to May timeframe. It rotates out of competitive play. I say the block. So for people who don't know that, these sets don't have a print rotation; they have a competitive block rotation, and they're gonna go. So that's going to be anything from Temporal Forces all the way to Prismatic are going to rotate out next April. Am I going to miss the boat? Did things jump when they rotate out? Kind of. But some of those sets just haven't even been printed. Like, when was the last time you saw Temporal Force reprint? For those who don't know, Temporal Forces was the least printed SV set. It has not had a booster box reprint ever. And it was one of the lowest print runs when it came to booster boxes because they pulled back hard on the printing after 2022 and 2023. So, just for you know, it's a great set. I actually love a lot of the cards in there. So there's a lot of stuff I could be wrong. Sword and Shield recovered. SV is going to recover. I just don't want to be doing it slowly. So what was my normal way that I handled selling products? I sell a part of my position and then I go, I'm going to reinvest it into the newest set. Oh, this old set 2x, 3x, let me sell some and then I can drop into new one plus some additional funding. Okay, so where am I looking in Pokemon right now? Vintage? No, I think that's overextended. Sealed and slabs, middle era. I'll have to say it. Middle era, it's not that bad. I think some of them are a little inflated, but honestly, I think a lot of people faded it for the longest time. I think middle air is going to do pretty good. Modern and hyper modern, no, I'm extremely bearish on it all. Why would I reinvest my money, especially with these very lousy sets? It's going to be dead money for ages. Like I said, the bad sets from Sword and Shield sat on the market for 3 years before they broke MSRP. I'm not going to say it's going to be the exact same, but I'm going to have to buy them at market, and it's not going to move much for the next 3 years potentially. So I'm not going to put it back into Pokemon. That sounds dumb. I'm going to sell my Pokemon and I'm going to take it elsewhere. Where would you go? Hobbit, the collector's edition for MTG, One Piece, Lorcana, Gundam. For me, it's going to be Riftbound. And honestly, if you look at this list, it's my favorite of all of them. People can make a great argument for One Piece. I'm pretty bearish on Lorcana with their new collector's box. Gundam, I really just don't think it's that strong. I even made a video comparing that. Magic, tried and true. Longest running modern TCG, 30 plus years at this, but 32 years, I think. And the collector boxes have just done well. Don't try to set pick them. You never know what's going to happen. I truly don't have the knowledge to be set picking that. So I would just be picking up all the collectors. So if you're as an option, things I would be looking at, okay, One Piece just does relatively well. I think it's doing great. I can't have an argument against it. I don't like it. I don't think the art is that spectacular. OP18 was finally the first one that I thought was pretty good in a while, but honestly, I'm just all in on Riftbound. And you've seen my stuff about that. So why am I buying Riftbound? There's buyers there. The supply versus demand, it just keeps going up. The price keeps moving because there is just not enough supply. Just I'm not going to say that's healthy. I'm going to say that that's an early sign of being in something great. The competitive play is healthy. It went. We had a recent event where the competitors for Riftbound made Magic the Gathering look like a side event, and they were playing at the same place. The amount of people who are wanting to play this game, because they also support the players in such a way where there's actual prizes that you want to work for. It's not perfect right now. They even had a prize wall issue in Barcelona where if you made the top 64, you didn't receive your tickets in time that you can buy something off the prize wall. That's an issue. Those things should be talked about. I think they need to fix a couple things with competitive play when it comes to that. People are saying things are taking too long for judges, maybe having egos and stuff. I've seen a lot of the bearish sentiment about competitive, but I've also seen why a lot of people are moving over to it. Um, Also, there's just the cards are gorgeous, they're harder to pull, and they have value. When I don't feel like I'm losing out on ripping booster boxes of Pokemon because I didn't get the one chase card. The EV is strong on these sets where because the competitive play is so the playables are strong and it makes it just fun to rip. But also like all the cards are just gorgeous to me. That's a totally subjective argument, but it's one that I feel will help it in the long run. I'm also not naive to the fact that there's negatives of Riftbound, and I want to, like I said, I always try to be both sides of the coin when it comes to my argument. Origins, they've already reprinted it 3 times, and it's gone from 337 in March, and it tanked. That was right there before the release of Unleashed. We saw that massive drawdown. Riot has said they want to print it to demand for the players. I truly just believe they can't at this point, and they're gonna have to start looking forward. If you ask me my sentiment on future sets, that might be different. When we start hitting sets 6 and 7, I wouldn't be shocked if they come out more expensive, if they come out higher quantities, if they start doing bigger secondary waves and third waves for them. And I'm also not naive that Origins won't get reprinted again, but it recovered from a 75,000 units in a week from distribution. There's talks about they slowly roll it out because they don't want to crash the market, but they do want constant flow of products coming to LGSs. Great way. So even though this is a negative point, I think they're handling reprints in a better manner. Stores are selling it mainly to players, and I think that's the best thing ever. You don't have these issues with botters and scalpers and everything. I think that's another positive in this. But I'm also an investor, and if other investors are rotating in here, it can become an issue where prices just go sky high, like we saw in early Pokemon from the previous cycle, and it can be an issue. I'm not naive to all these things. So, like I said, I don't think Pokemon's dead. It's going to be fine, guys. I think if you're holding the good sets, you're fine. But I think you need to start thinking about throwing away and selling some of the old stuff that just isn't going to move during a bear market. I'd rather be right with Riftbound going up faster than being right staying with Pokemon and going up slow. I think at this point I'm just here to take a risk and do what is best for my interest. Um I do appreciate you guys. I know this was a long talk. Um, and like I said, I would love if you guys support me, subscribe, comment. I do want to know your opinions on this one. I know this is going to be very polarizing, and I think people are going to be, people who may watch me all the time are going to love this and believe in this. But I know this might rub some people the wrong way. But for now, guys, peace out, and I'll see you on the next one.